I told you there is a crypto hack that can completely change your life overnight. And I'm not talking about a token, a trade, an insider tip, or even how much money you have in your account. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it does exist. It is a real thing. You probably clicked this video because either you want to get rich quick, you're a subscriber and you already know what's coming, or three, you bought in at the top and you've lost a ton of money and you're just trying to understand all of this mess. Well, the good news is I can help you do that. But before we do that, we need to understand what's actually causing this. Now, before I get too far into it, I can attest that there are people in this very stream who will tell you that they are using this hack and it is being extremely successful for them. Now, before we get too far into it, though, there's a reason I brought up why you might be here, because investor psychology mirrors YouTube psychology. What does that mean? Well, YouTube psychology thrives on emotion. It thrives on creating an emotional trigger, whether it be joy or anger, the two biggest ones. So titles and thumbnails are focused to create emotional responses. Well, people use their emotions to make decisions. Actually, people make decisions based on their emotions and then use logic to justify those decisions. Most decisions for people are emotionally based. Well, why is this a problem? When you get into investing, that same logic applies to buying at the top and selling at the bottom. Everyone waits for the narrative to sound too good to be true before they jump in. And then once the narrative shifts, everyone gets fearful and jumps out. Now, I understand this may seem very stupid. What am I talking about, right? How am I going to get rich? That's why we clicked the video, right? Well, here's the secret. Are you ready for the hack? Because this is the truest statement you're going to get on YouTube. The hack is your mindset. Now, before you rage click off the video, I want you to think about that for a second. Why did you click the video? How many videos have you clicked where they have promised something and it's not what you thought, or it was too hard and you immediately clicked off? Okay. At some point, you need to change the mindset. That's what this is about. You don't get rich quick. You don't. More people are going to get wrecked quick than get rich quick. More people are successful getting rich slow, and dollar cost averaging in is the most successful way over the long term. My name is Scott. I stream Monday through Saturday at noon. We cover the news, we cover the price, and we cover everything in between, because you need to know where you are so you know where you're going. Because I am a long-term investor and I'm about dollar cost averaging in over time. It has served me well. It has served my subscribers well. And I see you guys in the chat. Keep it rolling. We will do the live Q&A once we get through the meat of the stream. But now we are back to the normal rotation, the way the streams typically work, right? We come in, we start with the meat of the stream, my little monologue, then we get into the price, then we get into the account activity, the actual activity happening on Ledger for XRP. I hold XRP, HBAR, CC, Ondo, and Chainlink, and I just threw a dart throw at zero not too long ago, which also had another major pullback today. And we have information on that. We cover the entire crypto community, as well as I hold my real world infrastructure plays, gold, silver, copper, and real estate. We're building a foundation for the long view. Thank you for taking your time to be here with us today. So what are we looking at today as far as price? We've been following Bitcoin because right now everything follows Bitcoin. Crypto is still a speculative asset until utility proves otherwise. Now we are starting to see some utility rear its head in some of these assets. What do I mean? Well, Bitcoin's still falling. Again, I'm expecting that to pull back to 60K. We just got to a lower low from yesterday. Now we got down as low as 65.3, whereas yesterday we got down to 65.6. So we did set a lower low. It's probably going to pull back up and do something similar to yesterday, honestly. No data really came out today that's going to be affecting the price. We do have the core inflation data coming out tomorrow, and I do think the market is going to react to that core inflation data. We'll cover that down the road so we get an idea of what to expect the end of the week going into the weekend. And again, Nothing is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. Looking at XRP, why do I think that we're starting to see utility rear its ugly head? Well, not its ugly head. In my mind, it's beautiful head, because I want to see utility. Utility is what's going to separate or decouple things from Bitcoin. We've heard about a decoupling ad nauseum across the board for years now, right? Well, what I'm looking at, so when Bitcoin fell down to 60K the first time, right? That's when we had this massive pullback that went all the way down to $1.11. Well, last time Bitcoin was at 66K, right? We were probably sitting somewhere in the 120s. Well, now that it's at 65K, we're sitting in the 130s. So I think if it gets to 60, we'll probably cap off in the 120s. That's showing some strength in comparison to Bitcoin. That's a good thing. That is a lack of Bitcoin dominance. Sometimes it takes a pullback to create those things. So again, I think 60K. Will XRP get to $1 then? I'm not sure at this point. Looking at how it's responding to Bitcoin falling to 66. Now, of course, things can change. Obviously, it's a chart. Charts change. But the cool thing, and I say the cool thing, but the cool thing about this pullback is it has completely removed all of the liquidity. So any kind of major money coming in or going out will cause a volatile shift. So we could see a major move to the upside with some killer news, or we could see a major move to the downside with some killer news. It just depends on the situation, because retail is out of this. They've all moved on to prediction markets and gambling. Over the last 5 years, all the young people, it seems like, have got out of crypto, which is even more important on dollar cost averaging in, because you're not going to be able to time these volatility swings. And when you buy on the way down, it creates a lower average buy rate. It's all a law of average of getting through this to the long game. Now, when we're looking at crypto as a whole in the overall market, Zero took a nice pullback after yesterday's run up. That was to be expected. Canton took a little bit of a pullback, but everything else is kind of hanging out and chopping today. We had a little bit of a pullback yesterday. Everything's up a couple percent, with the exception of Bitcoin. And really, we just looked at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's kind of chopping, to be honest with you. When we actually go back and look at the ledger activity, payments have stalled a little bit. We have to be honest. We cover with honesty, right? Payments activity has stalled a little bit. It's pulled back down. Yesterday, it got to 1.2 million. Now it's not, below a million like it was back here. We got all the way up to 2, and now it's fallen back to 1.2. But I did find another metric when it comes to ledger activity that I found interesting that I want to go over with you guys. Again, we follow the account set activity. Today it was up to 32,000 already. We've had spikes now as high as 68,000. Enough to gain interest of David Schwartz, who liked my post asking about the account set activity. Would not give me an answer, but he at least acknowledged it. Now, we do have some new information I found when it comes to the XRP ledger. I want you to see this. Again, some more activity higher than the history of the ledger. When we see things happen, we want to know why. Well, checks created and checks cashed are now spiking on the XRP ledger, something we have not seen in a long time. I did some research. Usually the checks portion of it is specifically if something they want to put the money out, but they don't need to necessarily clear it yet. This is typically indicative of cross-border payments. So, that's according to my research. That could be wrong. So we're starting to see more checks created and more checks cashed than we have in the history of the ledger. Look at the history of the ledger. That is activity. That is utility. That's a good thing. We like utility. Well, when we look at utility, we also look at what's happening in the market, what's happening on ledger, but also what's happening with partnerships. Google Cloud will be joining as a partner for Zero to explore how to enable AI agents to make micropayments and trade resources instantly without needing a bank. So Layer Zero partnering with Google Cloud, that is a major partnership. Let's go to the bookmarks though, because I do have some information from yesterday. If you joined me yesterday, I apologize because the community day for XRP was a flop. There was about a 30-minute segment that had Brad and Monica, and it was at the very, very end. So I've got some clips for you. I did some digging. I have some really, really good sound bites for you to share in regards to what happened yesterday with Brad and Monica.
Every time you mint RLUSD or do something with RLUSD on the XRP ledger, XRP is used as that native gas token. And so the more activity, the more utility for RLUSD on the XRPL, it's a net positive for XRP. So we interact with XRP in the ledger every single day. You can think about it as that gas token on the ledger. And so as I think about it, the more utility we bring overall, and I referenced earlier that Decrypt study, it's a net positive and shows the value. And another use case, frankly, for XRP. We'll continue to offer XRP to our payments customers. We continue to use it today. It's really about adding an alternative option for folks who, for whatever reason, want to use a stable coin. Every time you
Okay, so they're not adding another option. You use XRP or you use RLUSD. And that was Jack McDonald explaining how RLUSD directly affects the price of XRP. Again, the whole movement is letting them know, or letting everyone know again, that XRP is at the center of everything Ripple is doing. HSBC blockchain partners with Canton Network. Platform is called Orion to build on top of Canton Network. It has been selected for the country digital gilt instruments. Let this sink in. Facts and clues are everywhere. So HSBC and the UK is building on Canton. Banks warn of crypto getting Fed access. The banking lobby says conditional charters tied to unfinished bills like the Genius Act could grant crypto firms Fed access before rules are finally defined. Once these firms get Fed access, the national licensing, we will be talking about skipping the whole middle layer. No SWIFT, no correspondent chains, just native regulated settlement. So there's a theory, and this is from Coin Bureau, that the banks are warning that if crypto gets Fed access, like a Fed Skinny Master account or Skinny Fed Master account, then they don't really need clarity. It plugs them directly in and works around the rules. They no longer need SWIFT or other correspondence to work. They can directly go. So if Ripple does get their Fed access, that could be a massive catalyst for XRP. And again, we have more information from Monica Long and Brad about what's taking place at XRP this year for 2026 and their outlooks.
Last thing, Monica, if you had to define the moment in 2026 for Ripple and XRP in a few words, how would you describe it?
I would say institutional adoption at scale.
Institutional adoption at scale. Okay.
Yes.
I love it.
That's my, we'll revisit that December 31st to see how it played out.
So Monica Long says institutional adoption at scale is what's going to define XRP in 2026. I really, really hope she is right. What does Brad have to say about the plans for a Fed master account soon?
And the OCC recently granted Ripple conditional approval for a banking license. What does this enable Ripple to do today, and what changes once the conditional provisions are removed?
So I think there, well, I leave aside the longer term big picture opportunity, what we could do. The charter today, this really allows stability around RLUSD. Many people know that we originally set up and launched RLUSD under the New York DFS kind of trust license, Department of Financial Services in New York, which we felt like at the time was the gold standard. We now have both of these, and it's really, we want to be the most regulated, compliant, because we're focused on institutional flows. Like, that is the priority. Now, the specifics around the OCC charter, it allows kind of better bankruptcy protections for reserve assets. It makes it very clear that RLUSD is a leader under the Genius Act framework, but it really secures and kind of cements our leading position, and we've seen that recognized by analysts and reporters alike. But we really are the first stablecoin issuer to have oversight as a trust company at both the state and federal levels, and we think that dual layer is the gold standard. So that's why that's important. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about what we could do in the future. There's been some commentary about a Fed master account, which we do think is compelling, and there's things we may do in the future that I'm not going to go into today, but
More coming in the future. It seems like that he doesn't necessarily want to talk about. He was on a roll though. What else has he got?
I want every single person in the XRP family, the XRP army, to know that XRP is the North Star for Ripple. It's our purpose. When we think about what we're doing on Ripple payments or Ripple Prime or Ripple Treasury or custody or RLUSD, this is all focused on how we can drive utility, trust, and velocity or liquidity around XRP and the XRP ledger. So, things like Ripple payments on the DEX with permissioned domains, Ripple Prime using XRP for collateral and lending, Ripple Treasury we kind of talked about, doing enabled payments around XRP and RLUSD within Treasury management. These are all examples of where we are going to continue to make sure, as we think about Ripple as a platform company for financial infrastructure, that XRP is at the heartbeat of that. You'll hear more about this, some of those specifics from Monica Long, our president at Ripple, later today. And this morning you may have seen we announced Aviva Investors, one of the largest asset management firms in the world, tokenizing on the XRP ledger. So we're going to continue to focus on that institutional opportunity. Ripple has decided to partner when it comes to partner or invest or support companies going after the consumer opportunity. But hopefully it gives a sense of kind of where we are with that.
Focusing on the consumer opportunities for XRP. Massive announcement yesterday between two of our pillars, Chainlink partnering with Ondo to bring tokenized stocks to the Ethereum layer. So Ondo and Chainlink are working together to tokenize US stocks on Ethereum. Again, two of our infrastructure plays, Ondo and Chainlink. I was half right. I knew Ondo had a partnership coming. I thought it may have been rumored with XRP, but it looks like it was Chainlink. I'm so glad I own both of those assets. Again, my core infrastructure pillars are XRP, Canton Network, Ondo, Chainlink, and HBAR. Great time to be Ondo and Chainlink holders, especially as we're, as I'm dollar cost averaging in at the bottom right now, or at least I feel like it's the bottom. Some people think, again, I think we could still get closer to 60K for Bitcoin, which would bring us a little bit lower. That's why I still have finances sitting on the sideline. I'm not fully invested in. I can buy more if I so choose. But yeah, this was a really good portion too. Here we go. This is more about Brad and what's coming for XRP and Ripple.
Ripple will continue to grow as a platform company for financial infrastructure that permeates, it brings XRP and the XRP ledger into all of our use cases and continues to drive that trust, that utility and liquidity in XRP. But look, the thing I will emphasize, of course, we want Ripple to be successful within XRP. I want to keep reminding people, Ripple's reason for existence is driving success around XRP and the XRP ecosystem. We will continue to build products and services that customers love and will pay for to make Ripple successful, but it's in service of the overall XRP ecosystem, and we'll champion technology improvements around XRP as we have, but also champion other use cases and investments that we think will help achieve that. So, look, I think there's a chance there will be a $1 trillion crypto company. I don't doubt that for a second. I think Ripple has the opportunity, if we do things well in partnership with the overall XRP ecosystem, to be that company, and maybe there'll be more than one.
There will be a $1 trillion crypto company, and he believes that Ripple has the opportunity to be that company, and there will be more than one. That's pretty damn bullish from the CEO. Now, of course, he's going to say bullish things, but just in, this was yesterday, if you guys missed it, just in, BlackRock is buying Uni on the market after moving into DeFi with its BUIDL product. So yes, they did announce that BUIDL is going to be going into DeFi, and they will be using Uniswap for that, according to BlackRock, announced as of yesterday. If you were in the members-only live stream, I did announce that in the members-only live stream yesterday. And then this is the rest of the stuff that we were talking about yesterday. So XRP Community Day, to tighten its message, XRP is not an accessory to the business. It is the organizing principle, and the company is positioning its product stacked, regulatory posture, and institutional roadmap around that premise. Highlights. CEO Garlinghouse went straight into the ceiling. There will be $1 trillion crypto company. I have no doubt about that for a second, he said, which we just listened to. I think Ripple has the opportunity to be there, and there may be more than one. Framing matters, blah, blah, blah. Policy was the second major pillar. Garlinghouse put odds on the table for U.S. legislation, predicting a 75% chance the Clarity Act will be very close to getting signed by the end of April. So take that for what you will. I still think midterms, but I still think we get it before midterms, but I don't think the spring. Garlinghouse also tried to reconcile market volatility with institutional appetite, pointing to ETF flow behavior during a rough tape. I believe in multi-chain world, even last week, when there was massive carnage going on in the market, there was positive XRP ETF flows, 30 million to 40 million, he said. Public markets are keen to invest in crypto. Customers want it. The compliance posture was framed in defensive, more as competitive moat by Garlinghouse. We want to be the most regulated compliant because we're focused on institutional flows. So yeah, it's basically giving a full synopsis of everything we just covered, and it had nothing for the price. But I will tell you, the community day, up until the last probably 30 minutes to maybe 45 minutes of it was incredibly hard to listen to. It was very, very boring. I never seen something kill a stream so fast. Standard Charter has warned crypto markets may face one last wave of selling pressure before staging a broader recovery. Bitcoin could fall to 50,000 and Ethereum to 1,400, says them. He described the current environment as one of intensifying macro headwinds, and weakening ETF flows suggest downside risk has not been fully exhausted. I think we're going to see more pain and final capitulation period. I can never say that damn word. We're going to see more pain in the period of digital asset prices, Kendrick wrote. The bank lowered its previous targets of 150,000 for Bitcoin and 7,500 for Ethereum, signaling a more cautious near-term stance. However, Kendrick framed the projected lows as potential long-term entry points rather than signals of a structural breakdown. So again, they think there may be more pain, but again, long-term, they are still behind the overall crypto market. Today, futures moved higher as market weighs economic earnings. So again, earnings beat on a lot of companies yesterday. Jobs data came in good yesterday. We have CPI data coming out tomorrow. I personally think CPI data is going to come in good tomorrow. Now, if it comes in bad, that can send Bitcoin to 60 or lower. But I personally think it's going to come in good. Why do I think it's going to come in good? Well, let's use our common sense hat. When we go to the store, are prices cheaper or more expensive? Well, with the exception of beef and chicken, it's cheaper. Well, when we go to the gas pump, is it cheaper or more expensive? Gas is cheaper. So, I mean, rent, cheaper. Rents are going down. Cost of living is ultimately going down. So inflation seems to be going down. Wages are up. So that should be reflected in the report. If it doesn't, we'll see tomorrow. But as I'm looking at it, I just happen to think that the numbers are going to come in good based on just what I'm seeing in my life at the store, just using my common sense hat. You know what I mean? Binance. Come on, Binance. Binance completes RLUSD integration on XRP Ledger. Ripple exec reacts, let's go. Binance has officially completed the integration. According to a February 12th announcement, deposits for RLUSD on the XRP network are now open. Withdrawals will be enabled once sufficient liquidity is available on the platform. The update confirms that RLUSD is now live on XRPL within Binance's infrastructure, strengthening the link between Ripple's regulated stablecoin and the XRP ecosystem. Binance completes the RLUSD integration on the XRP ledger, enabling deposits. Ripple exec Reese Merrick reacted. RLUSD expands from Ethereum to XRPL, deepening XRP liquidity links, and analysts say the update could boost XRPL activity and utility, which it should. I mean, Binance is one of the largest exchanges in the world, so the fact that we are now linked into Binance is a massive play. And as we have gone on, we fell down below to 134.5, which is not as low as we got yesterday. Important distinction, right? We have not fallen below our price yesterday of 134.2. Whereas Bitcoin, again, when we're talking about Bitcoin dominance, right, has a lower low and is still continuing to fall at 65,255, and XRP is still holding tight right now at 135. So to me, that's a good sign for XRP. It means that XRP was more oversold and has a little more strength behind it than it did previously during the fall. A little more buying pressure. People are buying this dip, which is a good sign, right? As Bitcoin's going down, XRP is trying to hold straight. So let's take a look at the chat. Again, I appreciate everyone for taking their time to be here today. And let me see how many people are in the stream now that we've gotten through the meat of it. And again, if you came in late, I'll go in and do a recap after we get through some of the chat, but the chat is the lifeblood of the stream. The community is ultimately what we're building this thing around. So if you took your time to stay to this point, please hit the like button. I appreciate everyone for taking your time to be here, and I appreciate everyone engaging in the chat and building this community. So let me take a look at what we actually have going on in the chat today. Honestly, this is my favorite part of every stream. Sir Charles was in the house first today. He says XRP is his favorite. Good morning to you, Shay. XRP is your biggest for sure. XRP is my number one asset, still my number one asset. I know I've been talking about Canton a lot lately, but XRP still is the number one asset in my portfolio. Good afternoon to Raul. Everyone seems to love XRP. You think pulling out Bitcoin because of the e-files? I really don't. I really don't. I mean, I don't think the e-files really have anything to do with any of this at this point, truthfully. And I know that's not what people want to hear because there's so many narratives going on around it. But I mean, when you look at the big money, I mean, it's not going to affect things now unless something comes out with, like, you know, that Epstein is Satoshi or something like that. But like, just what's come out now, I don't think that the e-files are attached to what's actually happening. Going great for Raul and Sir Charles. I'm glad everyone's having a good week. If CPI comes in tomorrow above 2.5, rate cuts get pushed out further, and I think that's when Bitcoin could retest 60. If it does come in above 2.5, but I think we're going to beat inflation tomorrow. That's just my opinion. I do think we're going to beat inflation tomorrow. We'll see. I could be very wrong, but I tend to think that it will. BlackRock just listed its treasury token on Uniswap yesterday. Yes, we talked about that. And they also announced that they declared they have to buy an undisclosed amount of Uni as well. And JP Morgan published reports saying 2026 crypto inflows will exceed last year's record of 130 billion. I mean, that's great that they published that, but I didn't need anyone to publish that to know that. I mean, crypto's only accelerating, and the fact that, you know, there was only 1% to 2% investment last year tells you how much room we have to go. And there are certain chains that are getting a lot of institutional backing that we've been following. That's why we do the research. That's why we follow the news. That's why we have to know where we are to position ourselves to where we're going. It's about the long view. It's about what's going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And that's why that mindset shift away from pump and dump schemes, away from get rich quick mentality, away from immediate gratification, and start dollar cost averaging in and building a plan for your financial future, right? That is what is going to get you where you want to go. Not financial advice, but that's what I believe. Coinbase stock is taking a hit today at 52-week lows. Do you think they are putting pressure on Brian Armstrong over his stance on the Clarity Act? I think that Coinbase's big thing, how do I put this? The Coinbase makes most of their money off of stablecoin yield, and it looks like everyone now is against Coinbase. So if I was an investor in Coinbase and the bulk of our profits come from stablecoin yield, and it's looking overwhelmingly like you're going to lose some, if not all, of that stablecoin yield, I could see why that stock would be taking a massive hit. Right? It's not looking good for Coinbase right now. Plus, they've actually had some issues. I never liked Coinbase. I always thought they were shady. They pretend like they're trying to do what's best for crypto, and I don't believe it for a second. I mean, Brian Armstrong's one of those people. I just look at his face and I don't trust him. Some of that is instinct for me. I don't have anything to go off of. It's pure speculation, but I'm entitled to my instincts and my opinions. And so far, I don't believe Brian Armstrong is good for the crypto space. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, but we want stablecoin yield. We want more money. Yes, cool. We're not going to get everything we want. I want a toilet made out of solid gold. It's not going to happen, okay? So, yes, we can fight against the big bad banks all we want, but what is the golden rule in this world? He who has the money makes the rules. We are going to have to come to the table and concede some of the things we want as crypto holders in order to get institutional adoption and regulation. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the banks are going to roll tanks into the street. The government will roll tanks into the street before they give up control over the money supply. I mean, we have to think about this realistically, okay? Follow the money. The money will tell you where to go. It may be a pessimistic approach, but it is the facts. You can search it yourself. The money will tell you where to go. Good evening to our Angel. Again, I appreciate you taking your time to be here. I ran through the chat, so let's do a recap. If you came in late and you want to know how you're going to get rich right now in crypto, and you want to know what the one hack is to make money in crypto, because there is only one. There is no pump and dump. There is no get rich quick scheme. No hype, no hopium. That is all myth, okay? 1 out of 15 people may get rich quick, but 14 people are going to have to lose. The odds are not in your favor. The hack to get ahead in crypto is to change your mindset, to stop following the adrenaline, to stop following the emotional pulls, right? The pain, the joy, the anger, all of it. It's a complete change of mindset into dollar cost averaging in over the long term, creating a foundation and creating a strength area that you can invest in and dollar cost averaging over the long term to projects that you are committed in. It has nothing to do with the token. It has nothing to do with the project. It has nothing to do with how much money you have, and it has nothing to do with what's even going on in the market. It is statistically proven that dollar cost averaging in is the #1 performer over timing tops and bottoms. If you are trying to time tops and bottoms to get rich quick, you're going to stress yourself out. You're going to have increased anxiety, and more often than not, you are going to lose more money than you make. These are facts. You can look them up yourself. This is a community that's built for the long view, right? Of like-minded people who are working through this. We cover the news, we cover the price, we cover everything 6 days a week so we can position ourselves in the best possible position for the long term. Today's price, I feel like I'm a radio announcer. Today's show is brought to you by blah, 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 blah. You know, I probably could have done radio because I could talk forever. That's probably why I liked streaming, to be honest with you, because if I get a topic, especially if I get people I can talk to, I can just talk. And there's another freaking spam call. 5 since I started this stream. The spam calls are ridiculous, man. I swear it's 10 a day at a minimum. So we're looking at Bitcoin, well, I'm looking at XRP. XRP's pulled back down to 355, but has not reached its low from yesterday of 134, which is an important distinction when you're actually looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin with a lower low today, getting down to 65,120 right now, whereas yesterday it only got down to 65,600. So Bitcoin's setting lower lows on this pullback, while XRP is holding relative strength compared to Bitcoin, which is a good thing. Again, I think we are starting to see utility starting to play a major effect. Again, we talked about new things we were looking at on the XRP ledger with checks created now increasing more than the entire history of the ledger in recent months, as well as checks cashed is increasing as well. Checks created and checks cashed are typically used for cross-border payments, right? Stuff that's sent but doesn't need to be closed out necessarily right away. Again, seeing more of that increase after we saw the increase in the account set activity. And again, seeing an increase now in payments. XRP ledger utility is turning on and ramping up quickly. And when we talk about activity, we also talk about the Canton network. I don't think I have it right in front of me right here, but I always have a ton of stuff on Canton. But I mean, here it is. This was yesterday. Breaking multi-trillion-dollar payroll industry goes on-chain via Canton. According to the official press release from Canton Network CC, the network has played host to the first ever private payroll transaction. The major milestone was facilitated by Cantor 8 and C8 Wallet alongside Use Toku, an enterprise-grade application layer for global payroll. Again, everything's moving on chain behind the scenes, and it's going to be institutional. It's not going to be driven by retail. It's not going to be driven by retail payments because retail's already bored of crypto. The majority of people don't know about it, don't care about it, would rather stick their heads in the sand. Retail is not going to move price. It's going to have to be institutional. So now, as I look at it, I am completely out of anything that's crypto that is involved with retail payments or retail use case. Because retail has shown that they don't care about the technology. The technology is going to be used behind the scenes and retail won't even know they're using it. That's my opinion. That's probably a bold take, but you know what? I hope so. Get everyone on this channel telling me that I'm stupid because I think retail doesn't care about crypto. We can see it clear as day. Ask your neighbor. Ask anyone. You know, one out of 10 people may know about crypto, and it's going to be Bitcoin. Retail's gone. It's going to have to be institutional movement. So I'm focusing on institutional blockchains, not retail blockchains. And that's my opinion. So, and then as we look at the overall market, again, everything is doing a little bit better this week after the crash. But if you pull back to the month, everything is terrible with the exception of a few: Zero, CC, and Hyperliquid. Derivatives, institutional. Shocker. Nothing retail is doing well. I think all the retail tokens might take a significant hit or lag this year for sure. My opinion, not financial advice. I'm sorry, I'm on I'm kind of, I don't know. I feel like I'm angry today. I don't know why I feel like I'm angry today. I'm a little heated, but I mean, I guess I'm starting to see another force through the trees of how I think crypto is going to shake out with retail, and I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, I'm not disappointed in the hardcore crypto community. I think the hardcore crypto community is good, obviously, but I'm disappointed with the broader, like, I guess the casual crypto person, if you will, just for the willful ignorance around crypto. I'm so glad that you guys do your own research and take time to actually learn about this stuff, because a lot of people are going to get left behind based on willful ignorance. And they're going to think that crypto's a scam because they bought it at the top and then sold at the bottom. And it's a really sad thing. And then 5 years from now, 10 years from now, people are going to tell us we were lucky. No, we weren't lucky. We grinded our butts off and we held through the pain and we did our research. That's how this stuff works. And then again, we talk about more of this stuff in the members only live stream. I recommend to all of you to sign up for. We do that every single Wednesday. You can become a member. It's $7.99. I am working on a weekly newsletter that's going to be coming out soon, hopefully this month, that will cover everything that we discussed from the previous week and give you a heads up about what I'm expecting for the week to come. That will be included as well in the very near future. All of my founding members will get everything that comes down the road. The founding memberships are still available. Where do you guys like to get your crypto? That's a good question, because a lot of people now, I'm seeing a lot of videos talking about fear on exchanges and people not being able to get their stuff off of exchanges. A lot of times that has to do with instant deposits and it not being cleared in the bank yet, per se. But I'm curious where most people are getting their crypto, where most people are holding their crypto. Right now, I am holding a little bit more of my crypto on the exchange for one very simple reason. The reason I'm holding so much on here is because I am going to open up margin. The only reason I'm going to open up margin is because I'm going to start doing some futures trading, because I do believe we are going to see an increase after this. Now, again, that's not financial advice, and I don't recommend anyone play around with margin, futures, or leverage, because you can lose everything very quickly. But it's something I've done in the past and I've had a lot of success with. And I typically only mess around with when I have high conviction on a move, like usually like a couple a month if I do it. It's literally a profit-taking scheme for me, and I've had a lot of success with it. So I have to leave more in my Robinhood account in order for me to cover my margin, which is fine, which you can see I have 5,000 in cash just sitting there, and that's exactly what it's for. So really I have to unlock margin, but I'm not using margin. My own money's covering it. But I will be messing around on the futures here in the near future as we get closer to 60,000 with Bitcoin. But again, that's just me. And it's pretty easy to see that retail is actually going away from crypto. We see Gemini pulling out some of their stuff. We see Robinhood pulling out, or we see Robinhood not pulling out, but in their earnings report, they saw a 38% decrease in their crypto profits, right? Retail is not trading as much anymore. Retail is bored with crypto. They moved on to sports betting and prediction markets. They are done. Done. So we have to rely on institutional use case. That's why we follow the money. That's why we follow the news. That's why we keep track of everything going on, so we're not side swiped by anything, right? So we're not, blindsided. That was the word I was looking for. The one hack is buy more XRP, not financial advice. Good for you. Yeah, dollar cost average in. I mean, the one hack is your mindset. It's about dollar cost averaging in. I'm not going to tell people to never sell. I'm not going to tell people when to buy or how to buy or even what token to use. I'm never going to shame anyone for taking profits. I've taken profits before too, not with my XRP. I've taken profits on Solana before, but at the same time, I'm not going to shame anyone for taking profits. Everyone invests their own way, does their own research, and has to rely on their own instincts. I'm just a person on the internet. Now, that being said, I will tell you what I think and what I believe in and what I'm doing, but it's not financial advice. On Goldman Sachs front running something with XRP, they cut BTC and ETH 30 to 40%, but opened 153 position in XRP and 108 million in Solana. No, they're not front running anything, Sir Charles. They only bought ETFs. Their Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and Solana holdings are all ETFs. So if you think about it that way, they couldn't buy any of the XRP ETFs until they went live in November. So it's not that they're front running, they just couldn't buy it because they only did the ETFs. They're not actually holding the tokens. Jake Claver is talking about XRP derivatives. Do you know what he's talking about? XRP derivatives, I believe he's talking about, I haven't watched any of his videos. I'm guessing he's talking about Hyperliquid, which trades derivatives, partnering with Ripple Prime, and XRP being used to settle those things. That's true, right? That's value coming to the XRP ledger. But when you're talking about XRP, I think he's talking about using XRP to settle derivatives on the back end through Prime brokerage. That's real. But as you can see, that's already happening. Price hasn't mooned yet. Again, we need to see the activity actually take place on the ledger with transactions, with checks, with all of those things that we track every single day. So that's exactly why. I mean, so you just, when Jake opens his mouth, please take it with a grain of salt. Jake says derivatives will be tokenized on XRPL. It is possible. So we don't know what all is going to be tokenized on the XRPL. DTCC, New York Stock Exchange, they have just started in their process of tokenizing. Now, we know that DTCC is already tokenizing on Canton Network. We know that DTCC has shown backing on Zero, the new blockchain that just came out from Layer Zero. So, and then we've also heard partnerships of the DTCC with settling an RLUSD, but the DTCC couldn't work with XRP. Say all these acronyms so fast. Oh my gosh, I'm proud of myself. So we already know the DTCC is already working with Ripple, but in order for them to utilize XRP, they need the privacy layer, which was what we just got signed off of and is finally starting to go live. Again, we saw that we have the permission DEX that's coming out soon. All of these things are going to allow XRP to auto bridge. So the more value that comes in, and again, Brad and Monica Long are saying it themselves that 2026 is going to be the year of mass adoption at scale. I hope they're right. We need to see number go up for XRP holders. And Brad was even talking about that. He's shocked with how crypto market is doing right now, given the tailwinds and the adoption that we've had this year. And that's because retail has moved on. They're out of it. So we're going to have to see institutions move the price. You're passionate, not angry. I do get passionate sometimes. You can tell when I get going. My face starts turning red and stuff. Like I stop breathing sometimes. Love the members only live stream. Thank you, Todd. I love having you guys. And honestly, the members only live stream is pretty cool. It's chill. We just kick back, relax, talk about whatever we want, talk about price, talk about what's coming up, talk about new tokens, talk about business strategies. Me and Sir Charles were talking the other day, and I was telling him some business ideas that a buddy of mine, that I've ran into a couple buddies of mine. So I talk to and speak with other entrepreneurs, and one guy I know, he started his business taking trash cans down to the curb. Literally. He walks up, he started on his trash day. He took his trash can down to the curb and noticed that his neighbor was elderly lady, hadn't taken her can down. So he went and took it down and noticed that the neighbor next to it hadn't taken theirs down. So he took it down for them too. Well, when he came home, they were sitting at the end of the driveway. So he brought them all up. Well, the old lady was very happy about it, and she thanked him so much. She's like, I forget, it's cold, sometimes I can't get it. And she gave him $5, and he gave the money back. He didn't take it from her. He said, you know what, ma'am, you keep it, but I'll tell you what, if you want, for $2 a week, I'll bring your trash can down and take it up for you. And she said that would be such a help. So she gives him $10 a month. Well, he started doing that with the entire trash route, right? So now, and then he expanded and got outside of his neighborhood and went to a different trash route once he got more and more people. Then he started offering a trash can washing service in the summer so you don't get maggots, right? This guy cleared, I want to say in his second year after he did it all, he had purchased a company truck, had an LLC. He had hired his son. His son rides with him and helps him with the stuff in the summers and whatnot. His son helps him wash the cans, all this stuff. So in 2 years, this dude built a business that makes like $200K a year, has a company car, hired his son, quit his day job, just taking trash cans up and down to people's curbs for him. It's amazing what you can build in a business. People, I mean, micro businesses like that are popping up everywhere. There's another guy who's cleaning up dog poop out of people's yards just because they don't want to do it. It's crazy. Have you looked at Gemini crypto cards? I'd like to earn XRP and rewards, but I don't understand how crypto rewards work. Like, do they get taxed, etc.? Well, do the cash rewards get taxed on your credit cards? I mean, it's going to work the same way. I don't think they would be taxed until they are translated into cash, because they're not giving you cash, they're giving you a crypto. So until it's pulled out and translated to cash, I don't think it's taxable. Now, what I would do in that situation, I have looked into it. I kind of essentially do the same thing, but just without a crypto rewards card, because I have a cashback rewards card. And for those of you who've been in the stream a long time, you know I hate cash. So I typically don't keep any cash on me. I have a little bit, but I use my credit card for everything. My bills, grocery store, everything. And then at the end of every month, I pay it off and I take my cash rewards and I use that to buy crypto. So I use the credit card's 3% cash back to buy crypto every single month. And usually it's only like $30 because I only use like $1,000 of it a month and I get, the 3% cash back. But that's how I do it. I buy on Robinhood, love their instant deposit, and Kraken don't like that, and then move to a cold wallet. Okay. So I use Robinhood as well, and I use what I'm actually starting to do now. and I will have a link for you guys very soon. And this is the direction I'm starting to go. Everyone's able to do it their own way, unless you need something like the instant deposit. Robinhood's very streamlined and very easy to use. Honestly, that's why I use it. But I am switching to, I am starting to move, instead of having an exchange or a warm wallet, I'm going to be replacing that function with Tangem, because they have a cold storage wallet that's kind of like a warm wallet substitute that gives you access to a DEX to where you can trade from directly from the DEX. You don't actually have to move stuff around. You can actually just do it on the DEX and move it straight to your cold wallet. So I'm probably going to start going that route unless I need something like instant deposit. And then for my, of course, for like my Canton network, and for the more difficult to get cryptos, I use Caleb and Brown. I like the institutional custody, especially for things that you cannot move to a traditional cold storage wallet like Canton network. Also on iTrust, both the IRA. I know a lot of people use the iTrust IRA. I personally don't. I'm not partnered with them. I've heard good things, but I don't use them. I haven't used them. XRP from Robinhood, CC from Kraken. Coinbase stole 101 XRP when they stopped selling it during the lawsuit. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Coinbase. Their customer service is not good. That's one of those things that they play like they're good for the people and they're good for the customer, but I don't believe a damn word of it. Not 1 minute. I'd rather someone be honest with me. That's why, like, at least Brad Garlinghouse is standing up there being honest about it. He's like, stable coins don't really impact us. And honestly, he's like, clarity is way better than chaos. Having some regulation is better than no regulation. Like, he's absolutely right. But Robinhood's worried about their bottom line. Could there be a genuine delivery crisis next month with silver, or does COMEX just paper over it again like they always do? I honestly think they'll just paper over it. They're not going to let it be a crisis. Now, if it runs up crazy again, it can create a silver shortage, which could create massive price booms. But again, I think they'll just paper over it. Again, all the money. They're going to do what's best for them. Thoughts on Epstein tied to Bitcoin? I think it's a nothing burger. Yeah, he's obviously tied to it. And there was not fair play. He probably was involved with the lawsuit. It certainly seems that way. But here's how I look at it. Sure, all that stuff is realistically true. Do I know? No, I don't know. Could be, could not be, speculation one way or the other. But here's the thing. Does it change anything right now? No. It does not change anything right now. It doesn't change how much money's in Bitcoin right now. It doesn't change the fact that the lawsuit hurt Ripple for 5 years. Like, the damage is done. They're not going to give them repercussions and push them up the ladder. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I think he was tied to it. Yeah, I think he tried to suppress XRP. Those are my opinions and my thoughts. But at the same time, I have to be honest with myself. And although that may be true, it's not going to help me now. It's not going to help XRP now, unless it gives it some positive sentiment. But if anything else, it's going to hurt XRP further if Bitcoin crashes. Which, again, I still don't think Bitcoin is going to go below 60K, because that is the cost to produce a Bitcoin. If Bitcoin falls under 60K, miners can't pay their debts, and then it just implodes the whole system. And I don't think they're going to let that happen. But that's my opinion. Good afternoon, crew. You're down a cylinder today. Have a good one. All right, take it easy, race fan. Appreciate you hopping in the stream today. Let's see how many people are in the stream. I feel like I've been going. I haven't checked it at all. Hopefully it grew somewhat decently. 27 in here. Man, we only got up to 30 today. I'm guessing the clickbait title didn't do the trick. I thought for sure more people would be hopping in, but I guess they didn't like it. You mentioned buying directly on Tangem, but have you looked into the fees already? I feel like they're way more than on the exchanges, and I think they vary by token. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have not yet, because they have not given me my link to it yet. So again, I haven't done the full research. That's why I'm not offering you a link. I'm going to look at it and I'm going to look at the fees so I can make sure I give you guys the full information, because I don't want to lie to you and I don't want to screw you. And I want to make sure that I give you guys tools that are going to work for you, and I'm clear and transparent about it. Because the goal of me providing you tools is not to make money. The goal of me providing you tools is to make your life easier. Honestly, that's why I do it. And I don't offer you tools I don't use. I haven't used the decks yet, but the way they were explaining it to me, I got very excited about it. But you did ask the very important question. What about the fees? Always look at the fees. The fees are important. So yes, that's an excellent question. And when I am finally able to start messing with their decks here in the near future, I will be sure to double check the fees and make sure that no one is given bad information. So thank you for calling that out, Quelly. That was a great pull. Fantastic pull. Let's see what price is doing right now. Ugh, still at 65K. How's XRP holding up? XRP is at $1.36. I'm waiting for the weather to get warm, man. I can't wait to start going golfing again and stop looking at price charts during the day. That'd be fantastic. That means you guys are probably going to get less short videos, though, once the weather warms up. The fees are not Tangem. They're third-party fees, says Race Fan. Thanks for the call out. Again, I'm going to get more information on it. They are supposed to be, when they send me my link, they're supposed to actually send me an entire breakdown of the fees and how everything is processed, and I plan on reviewing that, because again, I'm only gonna give you guys things that I use, and if their Dex has crap fees, I'm not gonna use it, and I'm gonna tell you not to use it. I told them I wouldn't promote anything until I've actually used it. That's why I don't have a link. Now, I do have a link for EliPal, and I do have a link for Caleb and Brown, because I love those products. I love my EliPal air gap cold storage wallet, and I love using Caleb and Brown. You lucky son of a gun. I want to go golfing so bad. I might actually, you know, if I ever do make a bunch of money, I can't use it as a write-off for the channel unless I actually, well, maybe I could. If I actually do it on channel, I could use it as a write-off. I think I will do that later, but one of the things I really, really want is a golf simulator, just so I can golf whenever I want. You can pay with credit card, Google Pay, PayPal. I love Tangem, but don't buy there. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to buy a wallet, I will say this, whatever cold storage wallet you use, just get it directly from the manufacturer. That's all I'll say. Don't get it from a third party. Any link I give you is going to take you straight to the manufacturer. So you guys, and again, do your own research, get what's best for you. As far as like my regular, I personally like the EliPal, the Titan 2.0 air gap. That's my personal favorite. As far as my long-term crypto, but again, I'm looking for the Tangem not as a long-term storage option. I'm looking at as more of like a warm wallet replacement, because it's a cold storage mixed with warm wallet options. And again, I'll look in the DEX, and if the DEX is better in fees than an exchange, I'll use it. If not, then I'll use the exchange. It's that simple. For me, anyway, it's that simple. But, you know, this was a really great stream. You guys have been amazing. I love this. I love the LongView crew. You guys are awesome. You guys always keep the chat rolling. You guys always keep the streams entertaining because of the questions. You know, honestly, some of the best performing shorts I've had have come from questions that I got in the chat. And I think we need more of a community around crypto, not just individual tokens, just around crypto as a whole. The crypto community is so divided and so fractured, and you're either on one side or the other. Again, we talk about the polar sides of the world and everything, whether it's Democrat, Republican, this crypto or that crypto, you know, trans versus, you know, not trans, like what, abortion, not abortion, whatever topic, whatever buzzword topic you want to choose. All we hear about are the polar extremes, and truthfully, most of us sit somewhere in the middle. But that's not what gets views. What gets views is the polar opposites, right? The things that are going to stir up your emotion. I don't know. That's just me. But that is the end of the stream all. I appreciate every single one of you for taking your time to be here today. Tomorrow is a fantastic Friday, but it is Friday the 13th. We have CPI data coming out first thing in the morning, and that will impact the market. So we will see how things roll after CPI. Again, I think we're going to get good data. Remember, good data means number go up. Good data means inflation's going down. If inflation's going down, that means they can hike rates. Hiking rates means more liquidity in the market, which means good for risk assets. But if it falls, right, if inflation does not come out good, that is bad news. That is bad juju, bad news, and the markets will fall. So we have to pay attention to CPI data first thing tomorrow morning. But I will be streaming at noon for you. We'll cover it all, but keep an eye on that. If you guys are putting in orders, for the end of it. You missed it, but you'll catch it up later. All right, I'll catch you guys